All right, as promised, once the players were good to go, I'd be back, and here I am. We're in the lobby for Lost and Found. It's going to be TLO versus lillekanin, so a TVZ between two very fun players, very less than conventional players, I guess you could say. And we'll be getting into it as soon as we got all the casters joined in as well, by the looks of things. But in the meantime, you can check the brackets by typing !brackets in the chat. Like I said, there's a lot of people competing today. A lot of folks looking to try and get those top 4 spots. It's top 2 in the winners bracket, top 2 in the losers bracket, so everyone does have a chance, even if they lose. But we'll talk about that more in a moment. For now, let's get into Lost and Found. Alright folks, it's game 1 in a brand new best of 3. Spawning here to the lower left, playing for the team E-Punks, it's lillekanin. His opponent at the top right, the Red Zerg, Team Liquid's TLO. And a hell yeah, big shout out to the current bit boss, 47 has 723 health. Who did 4 damage to you? Someone cheered 4 bits? Silent Rebel cheered 4 bits. Rifkin without a hat, Dan's game. Oh yeah, I'm not wearing a hat today, shit. Now you guys know that I have hair. Oh, what am I gonna do? Let's talk about what TLO's doing actually though. Bit of a cheeky pool goes down. I'm not sure if this will be for your standard 4 to possibly 6 lanes that go across the map, try and get a cancel on a command center, catch a player being greedy. lillekanin is someone who would not likely be caught in that situation because he likes to go for a Reaper, but we'll see. TLO is not paired this up with gas. It's not gonna be any sort of all-in. Just cheeky earthlings, which I do like. We get to watch Snoot actually make some really good use out of this during the WCS Austin games I cast of him, and TLO is a very capable player. lillekanin also, what are you doing right now that you have 1700 APM doing nothing? My goodness, man. It's TLO is usually the one I have to explain the APM to. Everyone in the chat's like, why is TLO's APM 4K? It makes no sense. But looks like lillekanin's got the hotkey game going on today. TLO actually had a pretty good run in Austin. Nothing too spectacular, but man, this guy is just... Oh, did he hide the lings? No way. No way. Hang on. Did he... I think lillekanin saw one set of 2 Zerglings. I don't think he saw the other. I was about to ask if lillekanin had seen either sets, though. That was actually almost out of vision of the SCV entirely. I'd have to go back and check, but the fact that the Reaper's coming on the top side makes me think he did see them. But this is still cool, because these Zerglings over here will distract the Reaper, meaning these 2 Zerglings should still get in and try and kill that SCV. And it's all about buying time here with these couple of Zerglings. This works out pretty nice here for TLO. Not sure he'll get a full kill on the SCV, but he'll delay the command center, and that's never fun for a Terran player to have to deal with. The Twitch chat, like, balance whining, and the game's barely even gotten underway. I just lost 12 SCVs due to a banning run by. Oh well, drop mules. Were it so simple, my dude. Were it so simple. Actually, if you want to talk about imbalance for Zerg, go friggin' watch Rainer play, man. That kid and his Zergling run-bys are so sick. I actually watch that stuff happen and think like, how does he do it? How does he make it happen? But hey, we had some more bits come in. Thank you, Teebs Gaming. Yo, Teebs, I think I met this guy, what was it, Atlanta? He's one of Whiff's boys, I think. Thank you very much. Let's go, Dario. And then Jim Sock. Oh boy, thank you for those 3 bits, my dude. Oh, watch out, world. Gem Sock is coming for you. Armory coming down, not so expected. I don't know if lillekanin will be pulling off the exact same builds versus TLO. So far, I mean, it is, but generally speaking, I think TLO is going to be better suited to handle this, as lillekanin is a player TLO's actually played for many times across the years. We've actually, there's been so many like old like go for StarCrafts or Zotek Cups, and lillekanin has always been a player who plays a little bit funky and different, and I think TLO is smart enough and intelligent enough, and more importantly, fast enough to respond to whatever lillekanin throws his way. I do like the roaches, but of course roaches, as we've seen, not so great against cyclones with +1. And that's the key part of what lillekanin does. Demuslim was actually doing a lot of these kinds of abusive builds in the beta a long time ago, so it's nothing new. Like, what lillekanin's doing isn't some crazy meta he is setting, but it is something that isn't used often and frequently, so it might be something where even though TLO is all of these wonderful things I've just described him as, perhaps still unprepared for. I mean, more queens is always more power, but right now he's got about, what, 5? I guess really relying on the roaches to make this work. That's where transfuses will be quite necessary. So queens can actually take the hits from the cyclones a lot more effectively than the roaches can too. It's what makes this kind of awkward. If you can have the queens on the front line, even with low transfuses, those roaches will live longer, but there's going to be quite the micro battle in store here for TLO. The Hellions haven't really been scratched that badly, but of course it's not about the Hellions. It is once again more about the cyclones. The Overlord comes in to check this. He doesn't know about the second factory or the second reactor on the factory to indicate that this is a little more all-in than average. So, that lack of scouting for TLO. He sees the armory. Still, nothing too suspicious there until he sees the second factory. Now he knows what's up. I like the Ravagers, actually. This is a touch we didn't see from Nuke. Ravagers, of course, are not considered armored units, so they do not take the bonus damage from those cyclones. Plus, they have a little more range than a roach, too. Add in the odd Corrosive Bile, forcing a cyclone to break its movement and break its attack and move. And I think 3 or 4 Ravagers makes the world of difference when it comes to defending this. But not taking this lightly, you'll notice TLO is no longer droning, and he's trying to get just a big enough army to stop this, really. I think he should, though. Even with that +1 advantage to the lillekanin, there's enough not armored units here that I think sustaining the damage is very much likely. If he just survives like this first wave, there's not going to be a second and a third and a fourth. Like, lillekanin can barely sustain building 4 cyclones at a time. He just doesn't have the gas for it, much less the minerals. Hellions may rush across the map as the only real alternative option. A couple Crystal Balls landing. There's a lot of extra damage on those cyclones. The roaches aren't going down very quickly despite those upgrades. Let's not forget about the couple transfuses still in store, and this looks like a very easy hold from TLO. Yeah, he's just absolutely crushing this. When he goes for the counter here, he's not going to really have anything to stop it, and that kind of sucks. I like the Lings actually catching the cyclones. The full surround combined with the fact that he's just beating them to death. GG's get called. Game number 1 goes to TLO. Gives money and insults the guy who gives money. Poetry. I'm teasing somebody about 3 bits. Get off your high horse, dude. It's fun. 3 bits, for those who don't know, is the equivalent of 3 cents. It doesn't even come up on the notification bar, but I figured because I was reading the other ones out, I'd read it out too. That's why the heck not. Anyways, I have to respond to somebody real quick. Alright, game 2's going down to Dreamcatcher. I would prefer not to! More queens, more power. Thank you for the 28 months, dude. Much appreciated. But yeah, Dreamcatcher for the second game. This is actually a really funky map. I hated this map a lot when it first came out, and I've slowly fallen in love with it the more I started to play on it. But don't tell people I actually play the game, okay? We'll talk about this more in a second. Let's get through the intro. See you guys in game. Alright, game number 2 going down, spawning to the bottom right side of Dreamcatcher. We've got the green Terran, lillekanin. To the top left, his opponent, the red Zerg, none other than TLO. Now I like this actually. lillekanin just did beat a Zerg player senseless with the same build, and it worked. And it worked really well. So there's no reason to really think that it wouldn't against TLO. But I think a little bit of additional scouting, plus a bit more preparedness, and we saw TLO handle that situation much better. This is not to take any shots at Nuke, but just to point out that there was like a very distinct difference with the way this was handled between the two players. And I think that TLO made a lot of the right calls, not just in scouting, but like even with late scouting, realizing what he could do with that situation, thinking, okay, well, I don't have time to rush out something ridiculous, so I'm just gonna make Ravagers instead, which, as we saw, were a great response to that. Terrorine on Twitch says, BaseTradeTV, would you consider following me on Twitter? It would mean a lot. I don't know why it would mean a lot, because all I do is shit posts on Twitter, but sure, hit me up with a tweet, dudes. I don't know what your Twitter is. Why the heck not? But nobody else. If anyone else asks, the answer is no, okay? And special people only. I actually like Terry because he follows a lot of the stuff I do, even outside of BaseTradeTV. But Twitter for me is like a place to scope out incredibly attractive women who post a bunch of selfies and shitpost. I'm sure it must be used for real purposes, but the shitpost thing takes up 90% of my timeline, I think. Melina asks BaseTradeTV what race you're playing. I like to play Terran. I like to play Terran in a very disgusting, terrible mechanical fashion. In fact, if you guys missed it, there's a video on YouTube, or here on Twitch even, where at DreamHack Austin, MC coached me playing Bio for literally the first time ever. I don't play Bio. I don't know how to play Bio. I'm a garbage human being, okay? I have somehow managed to blunder my way to Masters in multiple seasons just doing dumb builds. And he taught me a real one. I already forgot it. But we won, and that's all that matters. But yeah, that's about the level of gameplay I play. And speaking of playing the game, I mentioned getting into this. I started to really enjoy the map. So I'm very much a fan of maps that you can have a little bit of control over, no matter what race or what style you play. And I think Dreamcatcher actually offers that really cool, rare opportunity. Because the third and the fourth at a glance look kind of far apart for like what a normal third, fourth location is, especially because there's no high ground, right? But it creates these really cool chokes. Ones that you can like wall off here, you can knock the rocks down here, and wall off over here to suddenly have a quote-unquote secure 4-base situation. With these walls being kind of thin, it's also easy to position units around it to either attack your opponent or be attacked by your opponent. It's a cool map. It's very interesting. I've not played or even seen us cast enough games where the gold bases ever really came into play, as there are 2 golds not symmetrically placed on the map. So I think the map has a lot of cool potential, and I'm glad it's one of the ones that are becoming more commonly picked. I'm very excited for that game where we finally get like a split map scenario where somebody takes the golds and somebody doesn't. But regardless, I don't care for the weird literal Dreamcatcher design on the map. Like, I get it, that's cute. I just like the actual base layouts. I think those are pretty cool. The Hellion attack ends up getting caught. Oh, that Reaper grenade ends up freeing one of the Hellions almost. Unfortunately, he still loses everything to it. Not going to work out super well for him. I do want to point out, by the way, we have fast +1 weapons in the very same build coming out of lillekanin, but this time I think there's a little more emphasis on the starport timing. So while I think the Hellions and the Cyclones are the core component of the army, we saw how powerful the Banshees were in the previous series, and I think that's what lillekanin's reaching for this time around. But I was just checking the bracket, by the way, guys. The winner of this goes on to fight against Denver, a very, very fun to watch and talented French Zerg player. So that'll be a really great follow-up. And this ends up being a pretty good bracket for us to follow, honestly. There are a lot of other players on the bracket who many of you do want to see, by the way. I can't promise I can deliver, but if you let me know, like if the majority of chat wants to see, for example, Damaga while I'm trying to cast TLO, I have no problem swapping gears. I actually like pretty much every player except for one on this entire bracket, so let me know who you want us to cast in the chat, and I'll see if I can make it a thing. But ooh, this Hellion run by ends up being pretty toasty. 4 drones go down. I mean, considered the failed attack earlier, this doesn't end up being amazing, but this is not bad for that run by. Cyclone will get some good shots in here on that Overlord. I don't think he'll kill it. High ground should break it. Yeah, easy. Hellion goes back in for round 2. Doesn't get that shot. Nice build cancel out of TLO. Love those clever little moves. Subtle, but important because it keeps the drone alive. BaseTradeTV, is it possible to enable colorblind mode for mirror race matches? Red, green look the same. I unfortunately can't do that for you. They used to have a lot of easier tools for the observers to change the way the colors look. You could force red versus blue, for example, back in the day. Lately, for whatever they've been doing with these patches, that doesn't seem to be an option anymore. So I do apologize to the few of you in the audience who are colorblind or partially colorblind or what have you, but there's not a lot I can really do about that. So I'm unfortunately catering to the not minority, I guess, in that way. Please don't hate me for it. But, ooh, coming around on the left side of the map with the Hellions, there's a lot of creep. He's not going to scout that TLO is actually taking the gold base. And like I said, I've not cast a game where someone's really gotten away with the gold base yet. So kind of a cool move here out of TLO. Something that can really amp up his production is you don't need as many workers to mine from a gold base to fully saturate it. So you can put that all into army supply, which makes it even better. More factories on the way, and lillekanin not going for air styles. Just a couple of cloak banshees. I mean, this really is not much of anything. Good shots out of these Hellions. Continues to just run by, run around. Now he sees that gold base. This is always what's really interesting about a gold base, though, in any matchup, whether it's mirrored or otherwise. It creates this dynamic of, like, do you attack it? It's almost like a taunt, you know? Like, come kill this base. Please come attack this base. Now TLO knows lillekanin's most likely going to focus his attention on the top right side, going to knock out that gold. It's such a danger to let go like this. The roaches come in. There's not that many cyclones, and the banshees were supposed to do a lot more damage than they did. Without that high ground concave too, this is a little bit tough for lillekanin. He's getting some good shots off though, and this looks like it's going to stabilize, but this is not something that will go well for him. His army supply is just so low that it takes so long to clean this up. Like, again, with two banshees, he will absolutely clean this up, but not before losing SCVs, not before losing positioning, not before not getting a wall off over here to the north side. Like, this has just been a painstaking process to push off these roaches. 11 SCVs dying on top of it doesn't feel great either. But he did just finish up this factory, so now production kicks back into way. And part of the reason this worked out so well for TLO was he did catch lillekanin as he was building those extra factories, right? I think it was like 3 in the production tab, something like that. So tech labs, reactors, they all take time, and that's why lillekanin didn't have much forces here to work with. Banshees, by the way, do continue their way to the top right. Some Hydras, but also 2 Spore Crawlers are here. Spore Crawlers most necessary for the detection. Lillekanin seeing that this isn't going to work out for him. He's about to run into the Overlord Overseer. Goodbye, Banshees. You almost killed a Hydralisk. A for effort. No tanks out. This is a problem. Well, actually, he did get, what, 1? Yeah, there's 1 tank out, another one on the way. That's some nice positioning for the tank, too, but I don't know if 1 tank can hold this army. TLO's not willing to push this, though. He doesn't have an Overseer, or a Changeling, or an Overlord flying over top of the main, so he might not realize that this production is so low, and that the army count is, like, frankly, almost non-existent. Where's that Overseer? Come here. Get your ass over here. You need to kill that Banshee. Yeah, there you go. When the creep is up on your base, it's never good. And he doesn't have vision of this. Oh, this is so awkward. The Overlord gives TLO the high ground vision, but lillekanin, despite kind of seeing the queen, didn't have the vision. And it's not really high ground vision, it's like walled off vision, but this is a good choke to fight in. Even if TLO breaks through the wall and pushes on forward, these 3 tanks will get a lot of splash damage in. And this is actually trading out pretty efficiently at the start of the fight here for lillekanin. We'll see if he can finish it. That anti-armor is going to help these Cyclones out a ton. A couple SCVs on the backside too, not repairing. I don't know what they're doing actually. They're just kind of choked in there. Now the repairs go down. It's a little bit late. I don't think this is going to be enough. TLO continues to push through. 82 army supply to 29. And TLO looking to walk away here with a 2-0 victory. Looks like there had been a run by in the top right while this went on. 9 drones died, but doesn't matter. TLO takes the series. You can't turn team colors on. Anybody know the keyboard shortcut for it? No, it doesn't work when you're using game heart is the thing. Like it's Control Alt F or something, right? Like the command is there, but for the observing interface we use, it doesn't work. So again, it's not me being lazy or like I don't want to look it up. Like we just can't actually enable the colorblind stuff, and that's unfortunate for those who are colorblind, but something we just have to live with. Maybe one day they'll fix it, but there's so many other things in the game they need to fix too, like the lurker den graphic and many other things. Anyways, TLO advances on to fight against Denver. This is looking like a pretty fun bracket. We'll probably stick this out for the ZvZ coming. I like watching TLO after all. But there's some other cool matchups on the way too. Harsum looking for an opponent shortly, as well as the bottom side of the bracket. But we're going to go to a break in the meantime. And again, well, there is a timer on this break, but it's not necessarily accurate. The players have to do vetoes and sort themselves. But I'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you guys for watching.